22nd February, Rabbi Furst, Pierke Avos, and I'll let you share.
Thank you. Right. Good morning, everyone. We're Chodesh Tov. This is Rabbi Stone First, as we mentioned, here in Yeshiva Samanashi, here in Yeshiva Samanashi, and we are learning Pierke Avos along with Esther. I'll put the Megilas Esther on the screen in a moment, and then we can get started again. Let's see here. Okay. It'll be coming up in a minute. Okay. All right. Good morning, Roy. Good Chodesh.
Chodesh Tov to you too, Rabbi. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, here we are. Megilas Esther Perek Base. I think we are in Pasuk Yud, could that, or Pasuk Yud Aleph?
I thought we were at the next page on Yud Tet.
Oh, could be. Let me see. Let me look. I remember Yud Tet. Yeah. Right. So here towards Esther, right? Correct. Tiklach Esther, yeah, right. Very good. Yeah, oh, right, very good. Yud Tet. Very good. Okay. Let's just review Yud Ches. Let's review Yud Ches, and then we'll start explaining a little bit about Yud Tet. Okay. Yeah, who would like to read?
I would.
Edward?
Excuse me. Vayas Hamelech Mishte Gadol L'Kol Sarav Vadav Eis Mishte Esther Vahanacha Lamedinos Asa Vayitain Mas Eis Kiyad Hamelech. Okay, so the king made a great feast for all of the officials and officials of the feast of Esther, and he granted a tax holiday to the provinces, and he gave them gifts through the office of the king.
So as we mentioned yesterday, we explained as well this tax holiday and these gifts. We asked the question, what was the ulterior motive behind this? Meaning the government is usually not going to give out free handouts, gifts, and tax holidays, right? So what was the ulterior motive of Achashverosh in doing this? So, as was explained, he was hoping through making these gifts and the tax holiday, tax exemptions, the people who were relatives of Esther would come forth and identify her as being part of their family, being part of their Medina. And then he would discover the nationality of Esther. Right? So he's going to great efforts to try and know where Esther came from. But let me ask a question. Why couldn't he just ask her straight out? Again, Mordecai told her not to tell, right?
Right.
So why didn't he say, listen, queen, where do you come from? I want a straight answer.
Because Hashem didn't want him to.
So Hashem took away his Behira to think about this obvious
Hmm.
way of finding out. If he cared about it so much, and obviously we see from this pasuk he cared about it a lot because he's willing to give away money for it.
Hmm.
Right?
Yep. He was too frightened of alienating her.
Well, you want it could you okay? So now you're saying something a little bit different. Could
Yeah.
be that he liked her so much he didn't want to offend her. He didn't want to he cared about not putting too much pressure on her for whatever reason.
Hmm.
That could be. Does that sound like a good idea, Lou?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Oh,
Roy was saying, we were asking the question, why couldn't Achashverosh, you see that he's willing to spend money to give out gifts, and he's willing to lose income by giving the tax exemptions to find out the nationality of Esther, right? So that's obviously something important to him, right?
Right.
So we asked the question, couldn't he just come out straight and say, hey, Queen, I want a straight answer. Where do you come from?
Right.
You know, one afternoon they're having tea together, and you just pop the question and say, look, spill the beans.
Right.
So obviously he could have confronted her, right? Two explanations. One, that Baruch didn't allow him to do the obvious, right? For whatever reason, the Kadosh Baruch Hu made him not think of to do the obvious thing, just simply ask her. And then secondly, he meant it could be without needing the intervention of Kadosh Baruch Hu, could have been that maybe he liked her so much he didn't want to pressure her. You have your new bride over here, your new bride, and so crying and stuff like that. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with a queen that's crying now? You have a depressed queen. That's not nice. Is that Roy? That's not a nice situation.
oh, I don't know.
That sounds more likely than the intervention, because I think we said yesterday that Hashem is trying to minimize the miracles that are happening here.
Right.
And even more so in this particular story, one of the themes is Esther's hidden.
Right.
Hashem's involvement is hidden. Therefore, we want to try and come up with as many natural explanations as we can.
Mhm.
I've got here a note I've just seen. Why did no Israelite or self-seeking opportunist divulge Esther's secret to the king?
Oh.
First, been believed because every nation claimed her as its own. Second, they feared Mordecai, who was then the king's advisor.
Look at that. They feared Mordecai.
Why did they fear? Well, I don't know why. It doesn't say anything why here or anything.
Oh, because if you look, um, that Mordecai had told Esther not to tell from where she came from, right? That Yud, go back to Pasuk Yud.
Yeah. Yes. What's it say? Esther had not told of her people or her kindred, for Mordecai had instructed her not to tell.
Right. So that, based on what you're saying, that must have been public knowledge also, right? Meaning people understood that this was, I mean, obvious. Let's try and put ourselves in this situation. amongst the Jews, let's say you're a normal run-of-the-mill Jew there in Shushan, right? You go to shul every day in Shushan, and Mordecai is not a small figure. Mordecai is one of the Gedolei Ador, right? And whether it's the pshat that Esther was his wife, or she was his niece, or both, but you knew there was a intimate relationship between Mordecai and Esther, right?
Right.
I've got here something that might go against that idea of having of being somehow connected with Mordecai.
Okay, what does it say?
Esther had not told. She guarded. This is from 10, Pasuk 10. She
Right.
guarded the secret for 9 years until Haman's downfall in the 12th year of Ahasuerus' reign. Okay. Many reasons are given for keeping Esther's Jewishness secret. Mordecai must have realized that if Esther was chosen to be queen, it could only be that she was to be instrumental in saving Israel from some impending calamity. He reasoned that if her origins as a Jew were known, Ahasuerus would never choose her and she would lose her opportunity, says Rev. Eliezer of Worms. Mordecai had Esther keep a relation to him secret. Mordecai had Esther keep her relation to him secret, so others would not be secretive in his presence. Rashi comments, that was from Yosef Lekach. Excuse me. Rashi comments that she did not declare her royal lineage as a descendant of the family of King Shaul, so that the king might think she was humble origin and send her away. Ibn Ezra explains that the purpose of her secrecy was so that she might secretly observe her religion. Had she declared her faith, she would have been forced to transgress. There's some more. I didn't realize that. According to Vilna Gaon, Mordecai was afraid that his family and nation would be killed for having kept Esther hidden for so long and for not surrendering her voluntarily when she was finally discovered. Now that she was made queen, however, no one even rebuked her for having hidden. The reason for withholding her identity no longer applied. Nevertheless, Lo Hagida Esther. Lo Hagida Esther. Esther had not told in deference to Mordecai. He Mordecai Sarva Alea, for Mordecai instructed her.
Okay.
He was concerned for her life.
Okay. Very good.
I think I found the answer to your previous question.
Okay. One sec. Hold on for a minute. Hold on. But can, amongst ourselves, amongst the Jews in Shushan, for example, I would imagine it was basic knowledge that Mordecai and Esther were related, whether through just being a cousin or being through a wife or being through both. No.
Yeah, but I didn't want to say anything according to what I've just read.
Excuse me. Say that again. I didn't hear clearly. Please say it again.
They didn't want to say anything according to what I just read now.
Right, but we have to realize that their relationship existed for years before this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it says something about I've lost the no, it doesn't say. I thought it says yeah, no, it doesn't say anything before, just afterwards that she had not told, she guarded the secret for 9 years until Haman's downfall in the 12th year of Ahasuerus' reign.
Like
3 years.
Just to think about it, what do you think that the general Jewish public reaction was when Esther was picked to be the queen?
Now
Jubilation.
we can have favors.
Excuse me?
Now we can have favors.
Uh-huh. We'll have the queen in the queen in the White House, right?
Hmm. Now we've got Trump, we can have favors. Not that Trump is beautiful, but still.
So there'd be a good reason why people would want to let Akashverosh know who and she's from. You're not going to get. That's the whole point about these giving the gifts and tax exemptions. Akashverosh was interested in people coming forth, admitting to the origins of Esther.
All the Yidden were together in Yehuda, in that what do you call it, district? Was it called Yehuda, or is that right?
Quarter, yeah, the Jewish quarter.
Yeah, the Jewish quarter. I think it was called Yehuda or something. Anyway, so they were all together there. So they would have been easily accessible to Mordecai, who would easily be able to tell them to keep their mouths closed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, definitely. If Mordecai probably would have had to, it wasn't just de facto. If Mordecai told Esther that she shouldn't reveal her origins, I'm sure he put out public statements or word by mouth, whatever it was, that no one should attempt to reveal the origins of Esther. I have another question. What do you think Esther was the only woman that was taken to the palace?
No.
No, not knowingly.
So a lot of so there were whatever Jewish women were available, they were taken and they didn't come back. Once they were gone, right?
Mm. So once it was seen that Jewish women were beautiful, they'd concentrate on getting Jewish women.
That's true. Could be. All right. Yeah. Lulu, what was your comment about the other question? What you find there?
When pressed by the king, she said, I would love to answer you, but I cannot. I am an orphan. My father died before I was born, and my mother died in childbirth.
So that means that what? That she didn't herself know where she was.
Right.
Ah, I see. Who's quoting that? That's a medrash?
Well, it's from this Ma'am Loaz,
Uh-huh.
but it
Okay.
doesn't say specifically. It doesn't say who they're quoting.
Who's this Mayor Loaz? We've had a lot of him.
It's a Ladino commentary on the Torah.
Me'am Luez, right? That's the Me'am Luez, right? That's it's a well-known commentary medrash based on midrash.
Uh-huh.
Right. So
Translated by Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan.
right. So that's very helpful. So now that changes the whole picture a bit. Meaning, Achashverosh obviously did ask straight away, outright, Esther, where you're from, who are your parents, who's your country, and she said, okay, I don't have a father, I don't have a mother, I don't know. So now that puts a different light on what he was doing. Why was Achashverosh giving the gifts and giving the tax exemptions? Because since Esther didn't know where she was from, so maybe there would be people there in the communities that would be able to identify Esther as being a relative.
Why not before then? Why not when she was a little girl? She must have asked.
Well, we know the truth is Esther knew who she was from. She knew.
Mm-hmm.
She knew she was Jewish. But since Mordecai told her not to reveal that, So she
Yeah.
had to invent an excuse that was reasonable in the eyes of Akashvero. She said, listen, she has no father, she has no mother, so she really doesn't know from where she is from.
Well, wouldn't it, I would have thought that he would have thought, why didn't she ask when she was a little girl? It was something that that a little girl would ask, or a little boy would ask. Where am I from? Who's who are my mother and father? Or,
Yeah, that it's important. In what aspect correct? I've known people that have been or adopted children, and many times they don't know they're adopted until they're older, teenagers and such. You know that there's a whole, and I guess you can talk to the social workers and the psychologists about what how you're supposed to reveal this knowledge to an adopted child. I'm sure there are college courses on the subject.
yeah.
I believe that many people do that. They don't tell until, or they tell later.
Yeah, I know a particular case. Friends of my parents, they adopted a child, and they didn't tell it till she was well into her teens, and she took it very badly. Took it very badly. She rejected them, and she was very angry at them. That I don't know. Guess she felt they should have told her sooner or earlier, sooner than that. Whatever. Anyway, I personally think she was just a teenager rebelling, and she used that as a good excuse to get back at these good-hearted people that took care of her from the time she was an infant, and now she rejected them completely, absolutely, and terrible. This couple was broken. They didn't have any children themselves, and they put so much love and caring and efforts into this girl, raising her till to be a teenager, and then she heard this and she rejected them, and walked out flat. And they were broken.
Never returned.
I don't think so. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe they reconciled with each other as she got older and more mature, but I kind of lost track of the situation.
Mm.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't know how it really ended. But so I guess this was a good excuse in the eyes of Akashvero. She said, okay, you tell me you're an orphan. So you don't know? Okay. So you don't know? Okay. So he took that, I guess, at the face value, and he went trying to find further, trying just by. I'm just wondering if she said that she was raised by Mordechai, meaning she was raised by the Jews, but she didn't know definitively if she was um, from the Jews. What would be the next logical question? If Achashverosh says, say, listen, Queen Esther, who are you from? Who's your nationality? So I don't know. He does. I don't have a father, don't have a mother. I'm an orphan. I don't know. So the next logical question was, well, who raised you?
Yeah.
Right? You didn't grow up. You didn't grow up in the garbage cans and the public parks, right?
Mm.
And what? And tell me another question. Didn't they know from where she was hiding? They didn't know they found her. They didn't find her in a Jewish house. Where'd she find her? It was hiding in a cave somewhere in northwest Persia. I don't know. Where was she? Where they discover her? If they discovered her in the Jewish quarter in a Jewish house, that would be a pretty good evidence that she's from the Jews, or at least she's associated with the Jews. No.
Right.
I think that Hashem, so to speak, salted the situation.
Mhm.
He,
Could be.
you know,
Could be.
yeah.
Might be that because Baruch kind of. I mean, well, on the other look, Echashverosh is doing his hishtadlus to try and find. He's doing his best to try and find out where she's coming from, and nevertheless, it wasn't successful. So that brings us now to pasuk Yud Tes. What's the connection of Yud Tes to pasuk Yud Ches? Go ahead, Lori. Lou, sorry. Go ahead.
Lou,
Okay, Yud Tes. He kavetz bisulos shenis umar dechai yoshev b'sha'ar hamelech. Okay, what is this word? Hikabates.
So from the same word as kibbutz. What's the word kibbutz?
Settlement?
Well, actually, literally it's a gathering. It's a
Gathering. Okay, so they gathered the young girls a second time.
right. So they had a second time where they were started gathering another set of women, a whole other set of the girls they started gathering.
And Mordecai was sitting in the gate of the king.
Oh. Okay, so now first of all, this pasuk is divisible into two parts. First part of where it talks about the kibbutz b'sul shenis, that they gathered the young virgins again a second time, and secondly, and we'll have to see if there's a relationship between the first part of the pasuk and the second part of it. And Mordecai is now sitting in the Shar HaMelech. So the first part of the pasuk that they gathered the women again, this was also a part of Achashverosh's plan to get Esther to tell and reveal from who she was from, because he saw he wasn't able to. No one's coming forth and bringing any answers in terms of who Esther is related to. So those giving the gifts failed, giving the tax exemptions failed. So he's still left in a quandary as to trying to find out what's the nationality of his queen. Okay, so he was given the idea. Now I'm not sure. I don't know. I'd have to find out in the Mefarshim. I think they mentioned to whom they gave the idea to Achashverosh. You can't get this information from Esther, so maybe let's put some pressure on her. If she thinks, because what's the point about gathering women again? Maybe Achashverosh is not pleased with his new queen, and he wants to find a second new queen, and they'll find a replacement for Esther and depose her, and he'll be happy with his third wife, his third queen. So that's why they bring this pasuk of kibbutz b'suos shenis. The reason for the second gathering of the women was in order to put pressure on Esther to try and have her reveal her origins to Achashverosh, because she'll see that he's maybe interested in getting another queen instead of her. So she maybe should really start being a little bit more nice to him and give him the information, right? Give him the information that he wants. Now, this explanation is good, except in light of what we said just before, that if in fact the apparent real reason why Esther has not been forced to reveal her nationality to Achashverosh is because she said she was an orphan, and so she simply doesn't know, right? If it's that she knows and she's not saying, so you can use this ploy of gathering the women again to convince Esther to maybe loosen up and say and give the information Achashverosh wants. But if she honestly doesn't know, right? If she honestly doesn't know, so how does this gathering of the women a second time have any leverage in trying to find out the truth as to whom Esther's nationality is? So we can say that it would work as follows, that again, the two ploys that were used previously were giving the gifts, tax exemptions. And as was explained, the reason for these things is that people who will receive the gifts and get the tax exemptions, they would come forth. The hope was that these people would, the relatives of the new Queen Esther, would come forth because they would like to get some more gifts. They would like to get some more tax exemptions. So if they'll identify themselves, so the king will be more grateful to them specifically and show more favors upon them than regular people, right? So it would affect them as well if people would see. We're trying to explain it from the point of view of Achashverosh, right? I mean, why is he gathering women again? He just got his queen, right? He's got his new queen, right? And what's the reason for gathering the women again? Answer is that assuming, as Achashverosh did, that there are people out there that know who Esther is related to, they didn't come forth because of the gifts. They didn't come forth because of the tax exemptions. So maybe they think, okay, things are going to continue this way. But now that they see that there's going to be a new queen chosen because they're gathering women again a second time, so it could be that this new Queen Esther is going to be out. So therefore, even though they weren't convinced to come because of the gifts or convinced to come because of the tax exemptions, but now if they feel that they might be losing the queen in the White House security blanket, maybe they'll come forth more readily that they see that they're gathering women a second time, and it could be that the newly crowned queen is not going to remain queen much longer. So it could be also used as part of a ploy for everybody, not just the relatives and not just the people in the country, but anyone who would be related to her, the new queen. They would want to come forth now because they feel threatened. Now, so how do we explain the connection to this second part of the pasuk that Mordechai was in the Shar of the Melech? And how does that relate to the first part? Why did the Megillah choose to write these two thoughts together as one pasuk? Seems a little strange, no?
Yeah, seems very strange.
Okay, let's go on to the next pasuk.
I have a further comment.
Your pasuk Chav.
Can I
Go
read
ahead.
a comment? Rabbi? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, hello.
Can you hear me?
A moment ago I couldn't. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Okay. Yeah, for some reason I didn't have audio for a moment or two there.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
So I wanted to read another comment.
Sure.
In my Me'am Loaz. This comment comes right after verse 20. After failing in his attempts to discover Esther's identity, Achashverosh tried a direct approach. I want you to tell me your nationality. Tell me about yourself first, Esther replied. I am a king of royal blood. I am a queen, and I am also of royal blood. But from what nation do you come? Frustrated by his questions, Esther asked the king for permission to speak freely. She said, please do not be angry at me for what I am saying. I am very surprised at you. You are behaving stubbornly now, just as you did when you killed Vashti. Now you are pressing me. What if I say the wrong thing? Will you kill me too? The first time you asked me about my parents, I told you the truth. I am an orphan and never knew my parents. I have good reason not to tell you even what I do know about my parents. When the time comes, you will know. Meanwhile, you should know that I am of royal blood, just as you are. If I am concealing the details of my birth and nationality, I have good reason. You chose me as your wife and queen without knowledge of my background. If you are satisfied with me, why waste your time with idle curiosity? If you want to kill me, there's nothing I can do. But the way of a true king is to have patience and to realize that all will be revealed in the end.
Okay. Right. Okay.
All right, so moving on to Pasuk 21.
Do 20 first. Do Pasuk 20.
Oh, 20? Okay. Ein Esther Megilas Moladechta Ve'esama Kasher Tziva Aleha Mardechai Es Ma'amar Mardechai Esther Asa Ka'asher Haisa Be'amna Ito. Okay, so Esther had not said anything
Right.
about her birthplace or her people, as Mordecai had told her. Esther did as Mordecai told her, just as when she was under his care, just as when he raised and educated her.
Okay, so what's this pasuk say?
I'm sorry.
Again, it repeats that Esther did not mention her birthright and her people as Mordecai had commanded her. Es Maimer Mordecai Esther also Kasher Isa Mineama Ito. This is something extra, right?
Which seems quite redundant.
Yeah. Right. What is the point about this pasuk? In spite of all these things, Esther still did not reveal what's her birthright in her nation, and
I mean, it would seem one point it's making is that Esther remained loyal. Now that
right,
she's queen, she still obeyed Mordecai, like when she was in his house.
and you think it's being repeated for emphasis?
Yeah, to emphasize that point, that she's still loyal.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, just if you look at just to do a point about in the Pierke Avos over here, right? The three, you see the third balloon there, the middle one.
Rebbe Omer,
Yes.
v'hayu zahir b'mitzvah kala kivach mora She'ein ata yodea matan sachran shel mitzvahs v'hayu mechashav mefasad. I'm sorry. Hafasad mitzvah keneged shekara uschar avira keneged ha-pasda. So Rebbe says,
That's hefseda. That's hefseda. Keneged hefseda, the loss.
hefseda, which means loss.
Yes. So the pasuk says that Esther did share tziva aleh Mordechai as Mordechai commanded upon her, and so Rebbe says in Pierke Avos, a person should be careful. B'mitzvah kala, kib'mechabura. A person should be careful with a seemingly a light, easy mitzvah, as a stringent, serious mitzvah. Shein atayodea, because what's the reason why you shouldn't treat one mitzvah differently than the other, right? Because we don't know. We don't know the essential reward for any given mitzvah. So here Esther is following the words of Mordechai, and it has tremendous ramifications. You might think it's a small thing, but Mordechai being the gadol hador, and Esther being in a situation of great import, a great significance. Her situation being the queen was a situation of great significance. Irregardless of whether she had actual powers as a queen or not, we discussed that a little bit yesterday. But irregardless if she had actually powers as a queen, that's not the important thing for us. Important thing, she was being placed there. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in his great wisdom, placed Esther there as the queen for the purposes of the Klal Yisrael. So this brings to mind what Rebbe says in Pierke Avos, we should be careful with the mitzvah kala, just like that of a chamura, because you don't really know how far the reward and the consequences of any particular mitzvah goes in any mitzvah. Okay, very good. Fine, it's 10 to 10, so maybe we'll take a break here. Let's just make a note. We're at pasuk Chav Aleph. Yeah, pasuk Chav Aleph.
Okay. Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay. Roy, have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much, you too. Chodesh Tov. Be well.
Okay, thank you too. We'll start Mr. Bruce here soon.